All right, so let me stop my share so you guys can see more. There I am. All righty. So I do have a few people in person as well. I might have one more person. I know I have one more person that's going to come on Zoom. I just called her. She's, I guess, figuring it out. And then I do have one person that may be showing up. So forgive me ahead of time if I have to stop and let people in. Today is a Zoom webinar seminar regarding the PPP. Now, I've been real good all year, last year and this year, not to fuss people out about these PPPs too much, but since a lot of people probably got it against my advice, would have been my advice. Not everybody. Some people are 100% eligible for the PPP. Some people may not have been, but there was a lot of people going around, and this is the only time I'm going to say this, a lot of people going around stating, hey, I can get you that loan, and they go ahead and, take your information and you pay them 10 to 15 or 20% of the actual loan amount. Say, oh, well, don't worry about it. It's 100% forgivable. Well, there's requirements for it to be forgiven, just like there were eligibility requirements for it to be issued. Okay, so let me go over that stuff first. Okay, just so you guys at least know, there's no judgment here. I'm not going to, if you got it and you weren't really eligible for certain things, or if you think you were and weren't, I'm just going to give you the facts. Okay, so the facts being that in order to be eligible for the PPP loan, you had to have been either a sole proprietor, just a business, okay? And your business had to be in play in 2018 or 2019, at least by December 31st, 2019. Okay, so when they first started issuing out the PPP loans in 2020, you had to have ideally and I'm gonna back up a little bit so that I'm making somewhat eye contact with you guys as well. You had to have ideally, and like I said, on paper, filed a tax return for 2019 regarding your business. Now, because of the pandemic and everything involved, they opened up the PPP not just for actual businesses, but sole proprietors and independent contractors. Okay, so independent contractors, meaning if you drove Uber, Lyft, anytime you got a 1099, you were eligible to get the PPP loan. Okay, in some aspect. Now, which also means that you had to file a Schedule C on your 1040 tax return, individual tax return, at least a Schedule C, which is a profit or loss statement or profit or loss form on the 1040 individual tax return. So a lot of people were technically eligible to at least apply for the PPP loan because they were at least a 1099 independent contractor. Okay, the calculation in order to figure out what your PPP loan would have been is they take when it first started, because they changed a lot over the last year. When it first started, you were to take your net income meaning this is how much I received on my 1099 miscellaneous, or how much my business earned in gross minus my expenses, and what is the total after that is what's your net income. That's what you would be tax-wise taxed on. Okay, and that would be like, what everything else is based off of. So initially that's what they base that off of. So you take your net income, you divide that by 12, meaning 12 months, and then you multiply that number by 2.5. Okay, that would have given you the true amount of money that you would have been eligible for the first round. Okay, y'all with me? All right. So initially when I saw People getting 20,000, everybody can get 20,000, like Oprah, you get 20,000, you get 20,000, like everybody gets 20,000. Do the math. If you do the math, you will see that, I mean, you can do it backwards, which means divide the amount, the 20,000 by 2.5, and then divide it again by 12 months. It would have given you a total, I'm sorry, multiply it by 12 months, it would have given you a total of $100,000. So a lot of people, that was my concern for my people, okay? Because a lot of people in round one were getting $20,833, $20,832. How do I know that number? How does it stick in my brain? Because everybody was getting that amount, and that's the exact calculation. If you take $100,000, rounded, give or take, rounding up and down, and divide it by 12 months, and then multiplying that number by 2.5%, 2.5, not 2.5%, but 2.5, okay? Sorry, I have to check my text just in case.
Okay, you said $100,000 and they multiply it by.
You divide the $100,000, you divide it by 12, and then multiply that number by 2.5. That gives you 20,833, or round down 20,832. Okay, I figured it was her texting me. So let me let her in. All right, so welcome. I was just going over basically the calculation of how people got the initial amount for the PPP loan, okay? This is being recorded, so if you do need to go back and watch the beginning, that's fine, but just a recap real quick. The calculation, and we're talking about for round one, is the net income. You take your net income from your Schedule C. That's after expenses minus your gross, or expenses subtracted from your total amount that you made throughout the year, whether for your 1099 independent contractor or a business owner. Divide that by 12 months, and then multiply that number by 2.5. This is not a calculation Joy thought up. It is actual, the calculation in the eligibility in, the SBA's documentation, okay? So when a lot of people were coming up with the 20,833, 20,832, that's the calculation. It means that they, at the first round, okay, because they changed it, first round, that their net income was $100,000, okay? So can you imagine the chaos when, let's say if, because they've been leaning on the leniency side for the most part starting off, okay? And, but let's say if they decide, or if it is followed through and people need to show documentation, if you're going to have to show documentation that you earned $100,000 net income, then you're going to have to do a tax return. Now, if you guys have sat with me once or twice, maybe, especially regarding your tax return, you know that your net income is what's being taxed. And if you're a sole proprietor, which means that your income is only on a Schedule C, that means if you gross $100,000, self-employment tax by itself is 15.3%. What is 15.3% of $100,000? $15,300. That's going to be your tax bill from the jump, plus penalties and interest. Okay, so it was really a concern of mine when I started seeing this, because I'm like, oh my God, y'all don't know what's going on, like what's about to happen. And then I had to scale back and just say, okay, woosah, I try to educate as much as I can, but some things are out of my control. Okay. So, but that was the initial, that was the first round. Okay. We'll worry about what we're going to do later, okay? But that was the first round. The second round, they made changes. Actually, I missed the change because I applied for the second round right before they made the change, and they didn't allow myself to go back in, or anybody who did it early. They didn't allow us to go back in and change it. So they made the change to be not the net income, but the gross income for round two, okay? So even still, I mean, it makes it a little better, just a little bit, that your gross income is at least 100,000, and it doesn't matter what your expenses and your net income was, okay? But if your gross income was 100K, then you could still deduct or whatever and then have a net income. So that gives, people who did it at least a little bit more playroom. And I'm just keeping it real with you guys, not condoning, but keeping it real, a little bit more playroom with being able to say, okay, I have $100,000 in gross income. Now I have this, I have $80,000 in expenses. And now my net income is 20 grand. Now nothing really changes, maybe, possibly for me in my household, okay? That's a little less dangerous than the first round. But still, a lot of people were doing it. They don't even have a business. Again, this was based off of 2019's taxes, 2019's tax year. And a lot of people did it and then said, let me start a business in 2020 or 2021. Okay. So again, hopefully this is just I'm gonna give a couple of just in case speeches. This is what I do with my tax clients. The just in case speech, just in case you were ever audited in it. A lot of people are not going to be able to present paperwork and documentation. Okay. That's only the little bit of what we're going to talk about tonight, because it's like hindsight. Okay. There's only so much I can do about that. There's only so much fixing we can do. I'm just giving the real explanation that if you don't have it, but if you do create it, if you create those documentations by amending your tax return, you're going to end up paying back whatever refund you got in those tax years, plus penalties and interest, plus the amount of tax that you would have owed anyway for that amount of money. It's just, to me, it's a snowball effect. And I would rather not do it and deal with it than have to. I literally had people come to me, ask me my opinion. I actually told them, you don't qualify. And if you did, you would have gotten this amount. And it's not worth it because you don't really truly qualify for it. They did it anyway. And I'm sure when they come to me during tax season, I'm just going to look at them. What you want me to do with that? Okay. Because I can't even charge you enough money to take on the headache. Okay. To put my name on it. But that's okay. For them. It's okay. Let me say this again. Let me rephrase that. It's okay for me. Maybe not for them, but it's okay for me. Okay. Because I'm very transparent, I'm very straightforward in what we do. Now, again, no judgment. Really don't care. I really don't care. I do, but I don't, because I can't. I do, but I can't, because I won't be able to sleep at night. If I continue doing it, I had one night, I could not sleep at all. When I came up to this list and I started seeing my clients on these lists, and I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't sleep at all that night. Then I got over it. I still need to educate my clients. I still need to educate the community. So at least you know, okay? So what I've learned in a lot of things, so that's just part of it. Second round, like I told you, that was with the eligibility. The calculations were still the same. You take the gross amount now, divide that by 12 months, and then multiply that by 2.5, okay? For you to get the total amount that you would have. Now, some people, if you had more than one employee, if it was more than you, then that amount that was the 2.5 would multiply, okay? So there were some people like myself, I had by the second round, I actually put on that I had employees, which I do, okay? Because I made changes to my business structure-wise, to where, and this, if you guys remember at the beginning of the year, beginning of 2021, I did an S-Corp party, okay? And the S-Corp party, for people I felt like it would be good candidates, they switched over from it just a single owner LLC to an S corporation, and then took on payroll, okay? Now, so next year when they file, they'll be filing as an S corporation, where the business taxes are completely separate from their personal taxes. Okay, everybody is not a good candidate for it. One of the main things that I kind of lean toward, and really is because what I said, the self-employment tax is 15.3% of your net income. Okay, so if you are grossing anywhere between 10 to 15 and up, 10 is a good number for you, especially if you have children or don't have children, or have like one child, or your children are starting to age out of some of the tax credits, child tax credit or EIC, or your children are older, or college students or something. Then you don't have those tax credits to lean on if you do have a net income with your business. So if you start grossing 10,000 and up, you want to start looking at how would it benefit you tax-wise, what kind of tax savings you would have by switching over to an S corporation. Okay. And like I said, it's not for everybody, but for some people it makes sense. Okay. If your overall tax bracket is 20%, and then, or 15%, 20%, and then you have another net income of 15.3%, I'm sorry, self-employment tax 15.3%, you'll start seeing that you're going to be paying 30 to 35, 40 even % of your income as tax. So if you're not making estimated taxes throughout the year, it's really going to start adding up. Then you'll say, okay, I'm not getting a refund, I'm actually going to owe. And for me, to be 100% transparent, I didn't know I was going to make the kind of money I made in 2020. And I switched over to an S corporation in 2021, which means I won't be able to file that until next year. But if I had really thought about it, like truly thought about it, not let the pandemic kind of like take on its own identity in our lives, I would have switched over to an S corporation in 2020. And then I wouldn't owe taxes. I owe taxes this year for the first time ever. That's not clout or capping. That's like, I don't want that. That's why I haven't filed my taxes yet. The tax lady has not filed her taxes yet. Why? Because I started doing the numbers and I was like, what do I want to do? Okay, do I want to deduct everything? Do I want to claim this income? But I've gotten to a point where it's like, I almost don't even if I claim a significant amount of deductions, I'm still my refund was like $900. Who want a $900 refund? Like, come on, I don't even want a $900 refund. I want at least a few thousand like the rest of y'all, but it's a mindset change. And that's why I tell people, when you switch over to an S corporation, it's truly a mindset change, because I'm paying payroll taxes. Well, my business is paying payroll taxes throughout the year, and the withholdings are being taken out throughout the year. So when it comes to next year, I'll get a W-2 from my business versus a Schedule C or a 1099. So, I mean, I just wish I had done it. I was thinking about it for years, y'all. Didn't do it until this year, okay? Because I knew I made enough to make that transition, but I literally should have done it in 2020, okay? Yeah, the tax lady ain't filed her taxes. That's sad, isn't it? But yeah, it is what it is. That's real talk. So now, of course, I will be filing my taxes soon. And then also, like, looking into different personal things, like I would like to buy a house. And because I've been in the credit game, I actually have relationships with lenders and realtors and things like that. So I called one of the people I had a relationship with as a lender and was like, how much do I need to make being a tax lady in order to get a house that was this much? Okay, to get this much house. So I did it on the back end. Most people take their income, go and get, their approval or pre-approval, and that's whatever it is. Well, because I'm the tax lady and I haven't filed my taxes yet, I could work backwards, okay? But what she told me put me in a position to where I'm going to owe. If I claim that income to get the kind of house or get the amount of house that I wanted, then I'm going to owe taxes. So now, like I said, I have to make a decision. Do I want to truly report everything that I earn, and everything I do is documented now. So I can't really get around it. I have between QuickBooks and Square and like all of my business is not much cash. Most of it is documented on some level. So I have to either deduct some things, which last year, you guys know I moved to a bigger location. So I definitely have plenty of deductions. But do I want to earn money or not? Do I want to pay taxes or not? You know, I still haven't 100% decided yet. I'm leaning toward a way, but I haven't decided yet. Okay. Or I can buy a house next year and claim a certain amount. So anyway, back to the PPP loan. So that's just kind of giving you an idea of where, even as a business owner, your mind starts going, and why, I think Joy just fell off, and why you make certain decisions that you make, and also why I advise my clients the way I do. I look on a grander scale. A lot of my clients, I'll even ask you, you know, especially when it comes to business deductions, I'll ask you, you know, are you planning to buy a house in the next year or two? Because most of the time when you go to buy a house, you got to show the last 2 years of your tax returns. Well, if you are a sole proprietor and you are deducting everything, and you just have, like, you either have a loss in your business or you have a very, very, very low profit, then when it comes to them approving you for a house, they are not going to be able to approve you for much house because they're showing that you didn't make any money. Okay. So sometimes you have to bite the bullet. And I've said this to other clients before, and now I'm in that situation. I've had to bite the bullet, y'all. But it is what it is. You know, what do you want more? Okay. So, and I have made changes, you know, going forward. So it's not like I'll continually owe taxes every year. I was at least smart enough to go ahead and make that change this year. Okay. All right. So that is the calculation of the PPP loans, which is the eligibility requirements. Now, the other thing regarding the PPP loan is everyone says it's forgivable. It is, but it's also a loan. Okay. So if it's not able to be forgiven, then you will end up having to pay it back. I know that's like common sense, Joy. That's what that means, right? But I don't think a lot of people understand that. Just because they say it's forgivable doesn't mean that your specific or particular loan will be 100% forgivable. Okay. So when I say you guarantee 100% forgiveness, this is why I'm giving you all this information. Okay. Because even if it's not true, even if you got it and you weren't supposed to get it, you still need to know how to fill out the paperwork in order for it to show up and be forgiven, right? Even on the surface. Forget if they ever dig it up later. Let's just talk about now. If you want it to be forgiven, you have to fill out the paperwork the right way. Okay. And now everything's automated. So what I did was, well, let's go into this. So I'm going to share my screen, guys. I'm going to go to, I have it pulled up. And this is not highlighted like the one I have, but I am going to share the screen. Just let me pay attention to the time too, because y'all, anybody who's been in my seminars know I'm long-winded and I'm very thorough. So sometimes I'll go into great detail about stuff. So, and I lose track of time because I love talking about stuff like this. All right, so I have here, and I wish I could pull it as my, do I still have my camera on? Can you guys still see me? Because I can't see. Okay. All right. So I don't know why I can only see Sydney on the side. Oh, there we go. Let's make this like that. All right. Cool. All right. So I actually have one that's highlighted here. Okay. So you guys don't have to worry about it. But it's, in other words, it's a whole lot of words on this paper that I'm showing you on the screen, but I'm only going to pull out a few. And I know you guys, this is real small. But I'm going to expand it. Hopefully it gives you some relief. So I know the share screen is on here. All right. So a couple of things I want to point out is that, you know, when I first started with the PPP loan forgiveness, or making sure that people were using it for the right thing, I had a lot of people switch over to actually paying payroll. Because they allow sole proprietors to do it, you don't necessarily have to have official payroll. Okay. They have what's called, I don't see it written out the same way on this one. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it on here. Okay, right here, it's called cash compensation. Okay. So, but documentation is still important. Okay. Although you can pay yourself. All right. So let's look at a sole proprietor. Anybody else? I believe I know most of you guys' situation, but anybody on here actually have employees? You have employees? Okay. So anybody else? All right. So are your employees an employee or a 1099? 1099. Okay. So those are independent contractors. So there's a little bit difference in that, but it still shows that you're paying it out. Okay. When they first started, they said that you could do it, and then they switched over certain grants and things. I'm probably getting them a little confused in my head which one was which. I know some of the grants that they were giving out were specifying that it had to be an employee, and some of them said that it could be a 1099. With this particular, I'm pretty sure the PPP, it has to be an employee. Okay, so the PPP is payroll protection, which on the surface or on the top tier, it was to cover, I don't know what's going on with her phone, but that's okay. Is to cover your payroll that you're already paying. Okay, so if you had employees and you were paying those employees and you issued W-2s at the end of 2019, it made you eligible for the PPP. Okay, now because of the pandemic, they opened it up for independent contractors. So yours, when you would fill out your paperwork, especially the first round, did you get first and second round? Just the first round? You didn't do the second one?
They ran out of money.
Oh, well, shoot, should have called me
They
before
told
then.
me, they told me I wasn't getting the first one.
And you got it?
I went in my account just to do something. I was like, wait, $20? Yeah.
So, okay, so, all right, so so if you, and I need to say this now because I just thought of this, if you got the first round, okay, you technically have up to 24, okay, the covered period, they expanded or extended it out, okay? So, and I think this answers your question from earlier. You have up to 24 weeks to apply for forgiveness. Okay. And as little as 8 weeks. So anywhere between 8 weeks to 24 weeks, you can apply for forgiveness. Okay. Now, because of the fact that if you don't have any W-2 employees, you need to fill it out as if the wages were paid to yourself. Okay. If you did not do a official payroll like Square or QuickBooks or Gusto or any of the other payroll companies out there, then it will be considered cash contribution or cash compensation. I'm sorry, cash compensation. I'm trying to use the exact terms that they're using on this form. Okay. The cash compensation can be the sum of your gross salary, gross wages, gross tips, gross commissions, paid leave, sick leave, all of those other things. But they do say if you did take advantage of the employee retention credit, which most people are not going to be even thinking about that because you're not officially doing payroll, or any of the other programs that they were allowing companies to do, which I don't think that would apply to anybody on this call, then you would have to deduct that amount, okay? But otherwise, it would just be cash compensation. Now,
if you don't have employees, or if you don't have employees, you can do the cash compensation for yourself.
yes.
Right? And so you're claiming everything that you paid out and just putting it under your salary.
Yes. So the question was, if you don't have employees, you would just do cash compensation and basically put that under, I'm sorry, what was the terms? How did you word it? Oh, shoot.
You have to pay it.
just paid to yourself.
To yourself as your salary.
Yes. So what I said, because if documentation is everything, okay? So those that I did sit down with beforehand, I would have them write themselves a check. Now, hopefully the money went into your business account, not your personal, but they had to be flexible on that on some level because of the fact that they allow sole proprietors to be able to do it, okay? And just so you know, a LLC is a disregarded entity with the IRS. They don't even recognize LLCs, okay? It's literally called a disregarded entity. They don't care that you're an LLC. They just want to know, how do you want to be taxed, okay? So when they want to know how you want to be taxed, you choose, I want to be taxed as a corporation, whether if it's S corporation or C corporation, or I'm going to be taxed as a sole proprietor. So although you're an LLC, a lot of these things are going to lean toward being a sole proprietor for most of us, because we have our business taxes on a Schedule C, okay? So if you hear me using the term sole proprietor, even if you're an LLC, that's the reason why, okay? Because the IRS doesn't even recognize it. So your documentation is going to be that of a sole proprietor, okay? So what I would advise people to do throughout the course of this, like I said, it's going to be a lot of stuff that's hindsight, okay? But I'm giving you the information based off of documentation, okay? The just in case speech, okay? I would advise them to, when they were to take a contribution or deduction from that loan and pay themselves, write themselves a check, and then go to the bank and cash it. And although the bank teller is probably going to look at you like you're crazy, but you know, back in the day, we used to do that. Before the days of ATM cards, you would write yourself a check as cash, put a little note on the memo, and cash the check to get cash. So that's what you would want to do. You want a paper trail to show that you are paying yourself, okay? And I think a lot of people just didn't do it or couldn't do it or didn't know to do it. So like I said, there's a lot of leniency when it comes to this process, but don't think that it may not come back on people, okay? Especially if, like some of these people who were charging 20, 10, 15, 20% to do the forms for you, they may get caught up, okay? Because a lot of them were creating businesses that didn't exist. They may get caught up, and if they get caught up, everybody that they help might get caught up. And again, this might just be a snowball effect, but I'm just not saying this stuff to scare people. I'm just letting you know. It's not just because they forgive it, don't mean it went away, okay? It could still be sitting on somebody's desk to be further looked into and investigated. They are so behind. And it's not just the IRS, like all government agencies right now are just like so slow and behind on everything. I literally can't even get into the SBA's portal and sign the form so that I can get the 4506T for my transcripts, so that I can get the remainder of the EIDL advance, because that was something else that they did. If you got $1,000 on the EIDL advance, or however much you got, if you got less than the 10,000 they were given, that was one of the other changes they made, that everybody would get 10,000. But you had to go in and sign the documents. You had to be first invited to go back in to fill out the documents. And then once you do that, they're supposed to give you the rest of the money. That is a grant.
I'm still waiting.
So I can't even sign the document, because every time I go in to sign a document, it tells me the document's not there anymore. Although when I log in, it's sitting there, it says sign, I click on sign, and it tells me the next screen says it's an error. So, and I've talked to like 20 different people and they still can't help me. Okay, well, I faxed it in. So eventually they'll either get the fax or I can sign it electronically. Either way, hopefully maybe before 2022 or 2024, I'll get my little extra $3,000. Okay. So for me, it's only three more, but for a lot of people, they got 1,000 because they were sole proprietors and they are supposed to get the other remaining $9,000. That's going to be great. Okay. Also understand anything that's forgiven for the most part, unless they make a change or a modification to that particular part, any grants that are given, you will receive a 1099 for that to be counted as income. So I don't know, did she try to get back in? No, I don't see her on here. All right, so just know that you're still going to get it as income even if it's forgiven. So again, there's going to be a lot of my tax clients that come to me and they're going to have this 1099 from the SBA, and I'm just going to look at them like they're crazy. But I'm gonna put that little 1099 on there. You know, I probably won't tax them on it, but yeah, on my fees. But that's some other thinking I gotta do, figure out if I'm gonna do it or not. Okay, so sorry, somebody text me.
Can we have a copy of it?
Yeah, I have some. And I can print you out some more. Or I can email it to you. Do you want a hard copy, like a tangible copy?
Because I wanted to look at it while I was here.
Okay, so let me make sure I have the most recent one, because I printed out the most recent. Do you want one too? There you go. You can have that. Oh, well, yeah. Hold on, I gotta print it out over here. I'll bring it to you because I have to print it. And this is, we haven't done this part yet. And I got this information straight from the source, okay? If you guys know me, you know I'll go straight to the source. I don't make up stuff. I don't go to third parties. If it's there, I get it. So this is from the SBA's website. And I came across it because of when I was filling out my forgiveness paperwork, it was a link that took me to it. So even the one I have the revision that I highlighted from January 19, 2021. The ones that you guys are looking at now are from, I think, July 2021. So that's the most up-to-date version of it. Okay. So again, we go from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. Okay. Those are the two expansions. So those who had the 24 weeks, depending upon when you got the deposit, it may be time to actually, submit that forgiveness now. Okay. They've made the forgiveness as easy as possible. Well, let me finish going over this part. Okay. So cash contribution, my advice would be to write yourself a check. Hopefully you've done that. If not, do some type of documentation, what you paid yourself, how you paid yourself, or whatever. Okay. Because you definitely want a paper trail of some sort that shows that you've paid yourself and not just you got the deposit and you went on vacation. Okay. Like I tell people all the other time, it really doesn't matter if you took the money and went on vacation. What matters is the documentation between it. Okay. From the money being received to the money being issued to you, then you can do whatever you want to do with your personal paycheck, right? So that's what really matters. Making sure that there's some type of paper trail between receiving the money and how you utilize the money, because how you utilize the money is what makes it forgivable.
Right, but what would you write instead, or you didn't write a check out to yourself when you got the money?
Well, it's just creating a paper trail. Okay. And it may not make sense. Ideally, the money would have gone into a business bank account, and you would have written yourself a check from your business bank account to you personally. And then you would have taken that personal check or that business check assigned, written to you, and deposited it into your personal bank account. That would have been the most ideal way to do it, to create the paper trail. Then once it's in your bank account, your personal bank account, you can do whatever you want to do with it. Okay. But you and I both know that that's not what has happened over the course of the last year and a half or 2 years. So there's a lot of people that, although we're going to fill out this form and fill out the information, and they may show that it's being forgiven, all I can say is hopefully they pray that it never gets audited and comes back. Because if it ever gets audited and comes back, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to reverse that forgiveness, and they're going to end up having to pay this $20,000. Hopefully that's all they would have to pay, is the $20,000 plus whatever the interest is, not penalties or worst case scenario criminal charges for some. Okay, that's not for everybody. For some, when you start talking about criminal charges, it's intent. So if the intention was, oh, I know I don't have no business, I'm just gonna get this money, then that's a criminal activity. And unfortunately, that's what has been going on. It's considered fraud. And I'm not trying to go to federal prison. So I'm trying to teach people what to do to avoid it. Now, there's always gray areas. You can always work within the gray area. Just make sure you do what you're supposed to do within that gray area so that it never comes back on you.
Like creating a ledger.
Creating a ledger, anything that you can do that's flexible within a small business. I've also offered people QuickBooks. Go in, do QuickBooks. If you do everything by paper, a ledger is great at this point, especially when we're talking about hindsight, when we're having to go backwards on some stuff. Then it's kind of hard to change things once it's already documented. Because with QuickBooks, you sync it with your bank accounts. You ideally syncing it with your business bank account. So, but I haven't synced it with all my bank accounts. They can get a little chaotic from time to time. But I still try to limit how much I use my personal banking for my business. So when it does calculate things from my personal bank account, it's only calculating my personal income coming in. But every once in a while, because of the fact that I do still have a home office space, I can deduct a portion of my rent and a portion of my utilities and things like that from my home office space. But the last year or so, especially the last year, outside of being during the pandemic, I didn't use my home office space much. I still came in to work for the most part. Well, in 2021, I did. 2020, I definitely did use my home office space because although I didn't have to shut down because technically taxes and financial services are essential businesses. They were considered essential businesses. I still shut down. So I shut down up until we started actually moving into this space. Then we were here, but it was still, I wasn't really seeing clients in person. But even still, my home office space is still there. It still exists. So I can still deduct certain things. I don't pay for those things from my business bank account normally. I normally pay for them from my personal bank account. So I still want to have that there and tracked, even if I don't use it on my taxes. So I still categorize the home office rent or the home office utilities, different things like that. That's still calculated in my QuickBooks. Like I said, even if I don't use it. So, but just make sure that you, like you said, a ledger is good. And if you guys don't know how to do a ledger, YouTube University is great. I can show you. I actually have a ledger. Do you have one? A paper ledger? Somebody literally just gave me two the other day. I'll give you one. A paper ledger. It looks like a chart, like a whole bunch of lines and things. And then you just fill out different things and, add in your income, subtract your expenses, things like that. And it just shows. Now, it's like I said, it's hindsight. I would do that. I would write out something so that you have a tangible, some type of documentation if something comes up. And the sooner you do it, the better. You can also, if you don't have them, you can go to Staples. They still have them. Any office supply store would have them. You can do that, or shoot, Amazon. Okay, so you can have a balance sheet. That's worst case scenario. I mean, you know, that's far left, but that's okay. Paper is always good. So, back to, okay, so it also, outside of payroll is the first thing, and payroll has to be used. They changed it. Let me make sure, because I gave you guys my paper. It has to be, I want to say 60%. Hold on, guys, let me see if I can find it in here, just to confirm, because they keep changing things. I just want to make sure it's right. I'm just gonna go with it because I'm pretty sure it was 60%. So the 60% of the PPP loan had to be used for payroll. At least, let me rephrase that, at least 60% of it has to be used on payroll. Okay, so if you have somebody that logs in and does their forgiveness and they don't understand that part, and they put on there how much, they just split it in half, 50 for payroll, 50%, and for operational costs or non-payroll expenses. Is their PPP loan going to be 100% forgiven? No. And then they'll get a bill and they're like, well, dang, I used it for what they said I was supposed to use it for. No, because at least 60% of it, at least 60% of it, it doesn't cap it and max it at 60%. It just says at least 60% of it has to be used for payroll.
And that 60% will be what you would write out as that cash, that check for your salary or what you put in there.
Yeah, but if you take the 20,000, okay, so 24 weeks. Let's bring up a calculator. Let's see if I can, I'm gonna share my calculator. Okay. So let's say this is the amount that was received, $20,833. Okay. We already did the math on that one, right? If you guys need some water, I do have cups in the kitchenette and a water dispenser in there. So, all right, so 20,833. Okay, I'm gonna keep picking on this number because I know people was getting it.
Everybody.
Look, everybody, look, everybody got 20,833. Everybody but me. Look, I didn't even get it because I did it based on the way I was supposed to do it. Now, I would have gotten more the second round if I hadn't applied for it early, and I applied for it, you know, after they made those changes to go with the gross, then I would have been good in 2020. At least I could have got more, way more.
But it's not gonna change because even if I was approved for 40, I only still got to 20. Then
Well,
I just go on 20.
If you were approved for 40, then that means they were talking about round 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way it happened. Like for those who didn't apply for round 1 in 2020, and they applied for round 1 and 2 in the year 2021, it actually was giving out both payments, round 1 and round 2 payments. So if they were getting the 20,832 and that's what they qualified for, they would have got 40,000 because they would have got both rounds. Okay, but the second round, you actually had to have, you had to have shown, this is another eligibility thing, you had to have shown a 25% decrease in your income at least 1 quarter out of the year. Now that one was hard for me because like I told you, in 2020, I actually increased my income. But I went through each quarter. And y'all know tax season is, you know, that's a quarter, you know, that usually that's where I make the majority of my money throughout the year.
I thought that was for the EIDL. That was for the PPP.
That was for the second round PPP.
Okay, because when they did, because somebody helped me on mine, and when they did it,
There was another grant that came out called the Supplemental EIDL Advance. The supplemental was supposed to add on another $5,000 to the initial 10. But those are the advances. That one you had to have shown that you had a decrease in your income.
Right. I seen
Yeah.
that,
But the PPP, this round 2 of the PPP loan, and I can show it to you on here.
because they did it together. They did round, because they denied me that.
For the loan, the EIDL,
For the regular.
the PPP loan or the regular SBA?
I ain't know.
It's probably the regular SBA advance. I mean, not the advance, but the loan.
And then it was like, well, that's how you filled it out. That's why you ain't getting nothing.
No. The EI, okay. So, and I'll come back to this calculation in a second. The original, when the PPP came out, there was PPP and there was the EIDL. The EIDL loan and then the advance on the loan, okay? The advance was up to $10,000 and you got that regardless if you got approved for the loan or not. The loan in itself was based on credit, okay? So even, again, my transparency thrown out there, even me, like now I could, because I was working on my credit last year up until this year. Now I would be eligible. When I applied for it last time, when was that, like February or something like that? I forget when it was that it came out.
Yeah.
April, May, because let's see, March, yeah, March-ish of 2020. I was just like at the early like 620 or something like that.
And they still, I had 7. That's when my credit was good before.
And they still turned you down
for my photo booth thing, and I owe finance charges on that because I was financing it like 400, and I couldn't keep up with it, and I lost my business account. My credit got shot. I'm like, okay, but when y'all first started, I should get it.
Right. So it may have been another factor then that they denied it. I know for me, it was because of the credit. It was the credit by itself. They denied me for that, but I did get the advance. And at that time, even still not understanding every aspect of it, counting, I wasn't even paying anybody as a W-2 at the time. I was paying everybody as 1099, but I counted my 7 people that during that year. So they gave me $7,000. I didn't even know that they was giving me $1,000 per person either until way after the fact, because they weren't clear on how they were calculating it until after the fact. So, but I mean, it helped out. And then all the other little grants and things that was going along here, I did take advantage of a lot of those. So, but for that part, it may have been something in that needed to be filled out a different way, depending upon when the business was started, whether or not there was a tax return done attached to that particular business. There's a lot of different factors that could have came into play from that. But I know once you get past all of that, the last thing was credit. So, and I know the ECDI, I think is what it's called. You're familiar with ECDI? Okay, I have to get you hip to that. Actually, there's a couple of things I need to get you guys hip to. Sydney, are you still in Ohio? Yes. Okay. So I know somebody who personally works for the state of Ohio now, and she works in the, like, let's just say, I know I'm calling it the wrong name, but basically the small business minority funding, whatever organization, whatever her title is. She works for the state of Ohio now, and she has a multi-billion-dollar budget. And she's like, her goal, and I know her personally, her goal is to run out of money. Okay. So she got in touch with me and was like, look, I need you to go ahead and get certified for WBE and MBE, Women Business Enterprises and Minority Business Enterprises. Your business has to be on record and filed a tax return for at least the year prior, for at least 1 year.
At least 2019 or
2020 at least, because this is 2021 now. Because you have to, part of the documentation is submitting your tax return. Okay. if you get certified, like I said, she has multi-billion dollars in budget money, okay, to get it out. She wants to make sure we get it. Okay. She definitely loves women. Give women. She's so funny. She said, I'm strictly dickly. Don't get it twisted. But she has a big heart for women, especially women entrepreneurs. So she's trying to put this money back into our pockets. So one of them is specific to women business. You have to have the certification WBE, Women Business Enterprises. Okay. It's from 10,000. These are loans though. Okay. From 10,000 to 45,000 with a 0% interest. That means you're paying dollar for dollar to pay it back. Over, and I can't remember, I left that particular notebook at home, I apologize. But it's over, let's say 5+ years to pay it back. The other one is not limited to women in business, but you have to have one of the certifications. Actually, there's two different things. There's a interest rate on it that's for women in business and minority business enterprises. And then if you don't have a certification, there's a certain interest rate. Okay. She's saying that one starts at 45,000 and goes up to like 1 point something million. So, and you can use it. She was like, the other one, you can use it for not only operating costs or operational expenses, but you can go buy property. You can use it for real estate. You can buy, a building. You can build a building. She was like, you can use this for anything. So like literally, she's like, I want to put this money in y'all's pockets.
Well, what's your credit? Because last time that's been years.
I have all of that written down, and I thought I had it with me, but I don't. I have so many little notebooks and things.
Yeah, but I go ahead and get certified for you.
Yes, and she'll have the person that's local that can help you get the paperwork filled out. I know here the MBAC is at the Urban League. She had the lady, although I've spoken to the lady at MBAC before. MBAC, if you don't know, is Minority Business Association, something, I forget what it stands for, but basically for minority businesses, they have locations. Here in Akron, it's called the Urban League, or it's at the Urban League. And I've spoken to this woman before, but she actually emailed her directly and was like, hey, I need you to take care of this person. I like that. I like that. Yeah. So what I'll do is at the end of this, I will, or tomorrow or by Monday, I will put together a follow-up email with you guys, and anything that I talk to you guys about and that'll be the resources that I will send to you in an email. So you'll have her email and name and everything, and then you just email her, let her know that you're interested in the WBE or MBE and you spoke to me, and then she will make sure that she contacts the person in your area and gets you tied in. She's originally from Cleveland, but she lives in Columbus now. So, okay, back to, where did I leave off at?
60% of the PPP.
Okay, yeah, 60% of the PPP has to be used for payroll. And then,
you're doing the calculations for the 20,000.
Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, so the 20,833, we're gonna do the calculation to figure out, dang, what am I doing the calculation for though? Deidre, help me out.
The 60%.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're gonna subtract the 60% from that. So 60% being $12,499.80. Okay, now you don't have to fill out the form and say, I spent $12,499.80 in payroll. It's like tax returns. I'll tell people that's a red flag. Even if they don't flag it, that's a red flag. You're going to use the exact amount for real though. You just happen to do that. No, you don't have to do that. It is at least 60%. You could put on there that you used all $20,833 in payroll.
Most people have enough bills to.
If you're a sole proprietor, you may not have much overhead, because I could tell you in the details when I did read it before. I'm not going to try to find it in this paperwork, but you could not pay rent, your own personal rent. You had to be paying rent for a brick and mortar, like an actual business, a commercial building. So if you're saying I'm paying part of it in rent or utilities, because I can deduct it on my taxes, that doesn't count for this. So if you applied as a sole proprietor and you got the 20,000, the best thing to do is just write off the whole 20,000 as payroll. I just gave y'all the clue on how to get 100% forgiveness.
Write it all off that salary. Because I'm thinking, because you got a home business, I thought they included me working from home.
Because it cannot be used. Let me see if I can find it in here. Okay, so let me look at, okay, so that's 12, we know basically 12,500 is about 60%, okay? But you can use the full amount if you want. Now, as a sole proprietor, because I know most of you, oh, sorry. Let me reshare this screen. Where we go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay, so most of you are sole proprietors or at least single owner LLCs. So let's go to what you can use it for. Where'd it go? Okay, so you had cash compensation. We already covered that part. Okay. And then, and actually look, see where it says right here, the max amount for a 8-week covered period.
Okay, yeah. $15,385.
Right. And this is based on the annual salary of $100,000. Right. And if you do the full 24-week period, the maximum amount you can use is $46,154.
So people who did get the 40 before they ran out of money.
This is, yes, I'm sorry, you're right. And that's if they got it all in the same year. So, well, some people didn't. Some people got it when it first came out in 2020, like me. I got the first round in 2020. So if they did get both in 2021, that's just an excellent point, an excellent topic right there that we just coming up with here, that you could not use more than in a 24-week period, the $46,154. So if they did get the max, let's say, like I said, the annual salary cannot exceed $100,000. So during the cover period, the max amount will be $46,154. So yes, they will be safe to say if they did get the 20,833 times 2, they could still claim all of that as income or payroll for themselves and still be safe. Okay. All right. So what is, and then of course, employee benefits, if you're paying payroll, that will be that, health insurance, things like that, pre-tax and after tax. Now, I'm going, see, look at this. Owner compensation, any amounts the borrower paid to owners, okay? Owner employees with an ownership stake of 5% or more, a self-employed individual or general partners for each individual owner in total across all businesses. This amount is capped at, what did I say right there?
20,834.
So we see where this number comes from, right? And it says in parentheses, the 2.5 month equivalent, so 2.5 month equivalent of $100,000 per year.
Yeah,
It's not rocket science, it's right there. That is literally the calculation. They take $100,000 divided by 12 months and then multiply that by 2.5 because it's supposed to cover 2.5 months, period. Basically like a 10-week period. But it says it right here in the instructions. This is called the PPP loan forgiveness application. This is the instructions.
Okay.
So I'm not getting it. Like I said, I'm not making this stuff up and I didn't write it. I'm literally reading it and then deciphering the information. But it's right here. Okay. It also says right here, The borrower, let's see. The 2.5 month equivalent of the borrower's gross income in the year that was used to calculate the loan amount, and it has in parentheses 2019 or 2020. So even if people got it in 2021, the calculation should have been based off of 2019 and 2020 taxes. Unfortunately. All right, so let's go past that. We're not going to keep dwelling on that part. Non-payroll costs. These are things that are also eligible expenses that the PPP loan can be used for. One, I just said, okay, says covered mortgage obligation. It also says business mortgage obligation on real or personal property incurred before February 15th, 2020.
Because it's a personal property.
Personal, yeah, but not rent, not your home house. It's not your home. I promise you it's not.
Okay, so if you bought a building and it was your own building?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, wait a minute. Don't give me the line. Did they change it? Because I keep changing stuff. I'm gonna pull up the revision I had before this one and see. Like I said, they keep changing stuff. Okay, let me keep reading it. And who knows, Deidre, because like I said, they keep changing things. I know when I initially read it, it said cannot be used on personal or like your actual home address, like your home property. So if it says on personal property, it's maybe, we'll see. We're gonna keep reading though. This one says covered rent obligations, business rent or lease payments pursuant to lease agreements for real or personal property enforced before. It says business rent though.
Right, but what is for real? Ain't all part of you.
It's a legal term, but I'm trying to break it up. Huh? What's up, Sydney?
I don't know. I was just reading. It said the business rent or the lease payment pursuant.
No, it's rent or lease payments. That's together. Business rent or lease payments. But the question is this part right here, where it says for real or personal property. So that's the one I'm gonna have to look into and find out, because at one point it said only business commercial properties. So and they keep making changes. So that could be one of the changes that was made. But I want to see it in more clear language before I'll tell y'all that. Okay. We just know to be safe, what we gonna do?
Right.
Put on there that you used all of it for payroll. That's how you can cover yourself. Okay. So then it says covered utility payments, business payments for a service for the distribution of electricity, gas, water, telephone, transportation, or internet access for which service began before February 15, 2020. And in parentheses, it says business utility payments. It keeps saying it in parentheses though. See right here, business mortgage interest payments, business rent and lease payments, business utility payments.
But see, my thing is versus what's their definition of real and personal property?
It's a legal term I'm gonna have to look up because I see it all the time. I even see it in taxes all the time. It doesn't mean what we're thinking it means. Like for us, we're thinking right now it means like my personal property, but it's actual a legal term. I'm trying to remember what it actually means though. So cover operations expenditures, payments for any business software, cloud or computing services that facilitates business operations. Like for me, it would be like my tax software, stuff like that. Even QuickBooks, That's also a business software or cloud computing service. Any other service, the delivery, the processing, payment, and tracking of payroll expenses, that's Square. Human resources, sales, all of that stuff, that could be an operational expenditure or operational cost. If you have those, maybe, at least document it. Even if you put in the application, the forgiveness application that you only did for payroll, you still want to document that you had those other things, if you do pay them.
So would you account like my photo booth would be equipment, and I owe the lease payment amount for leasing that equipment monthly? Would that be in for?
That would be real or personal property.
Okay.
That type of thing. Okay, because there is a tax, like in the itemized deductions forms, that says real or personal property, and that will be something that's a real or personal property.
Okay.
It would be something like that. So like equipment, stuff like that. But the rent and lease is talking about the actual commercial building. But the real or personal property will be something like that.
So I can put on there that for my payments, that because it went dried out. People were counseling, February, school contracts. So I can put on there for my payments of 400 and something a month for the rest of those months. I can say I use that for my personal equipment costs.
Can you show where it was paid?
They were taking it directly out of my business account.
Okay.
One of the reasons why my business accounts went bad, because I didn't even have enough money in there, and they took it in. I went in overdrive, and I ain't had no way to. And it messed up my whole business account. Okay.
So yeah, the payments that were taken out and paid for that would be considered those payments, the lease payments. So that right there, when you said that, that's what I was looking for. I just had to make it make sense in my brain, try to come up with a way to explain it to where it makes sense. And that's where it would be. That would be the real and personal properties. It would be something like that. If it was a landscaper, it would be if he had lawnmowers and things that he was financing, or even trucks. If he has business equipment, business trucks and things.
I want my truck for my business to put that big piece of equipment.
Is your truck in the business name?
No.
Okay, and then no. Yeah, tax wise, yes. This no.
Oh.
Okay. So cover property damage, and it says from damage, vandalism, looting, etc. Other suppliers where you have contracts, invoices that need to be paid, and then worker protection expenditure like PPE, stuff like that, or having to make changes to your facility regarding PPE or PPE stuff. PPE, yeah. So like a lot of people got those shields and things that go up, the dividers between the person, the client, and the worker. Those things were deductible on this, or qualified expenses on here. All right, so it also told you how to calculate full-time employees versus part-time employees to add up to full-time employees. All of that's in there. And borrow, okay, here it is. Remember I said it was in here. Borrow responsibilities, it says must include payroll costs equal to at least 60%. I thought it was 60% of the requested loan forgiveness amount. So at least 50 or at least 60%. And then, of course, it has a list of the documents that you would have to use or could use. And it says right here, now this is new that they put on here, documents that each borrower must maintain, but is not required to submit. So when you fill out your application, you don't have to submit the documents, but you are supposed to have them on hand.
Oh.
Okay. So it says bank account statements or third-party payroll service providers. Remember that bank account statement? That would be the thing I was talking about. You will write yourself a check from the business bank account, and I know that doesn't apply to everybody, and deposit into your personal bank account. That way you have a paper trail, okay? Because there's no other way to truly show that you spent that money on payroll, especially if it's a personal bank account and you just have personal expenses coming out of that personal bank account. There's no division between the income being received and the money going out without having that little piece of paper, check being written out or something. Even if you just withdrew it, it's cash. Something to where you had a document or some type of documentation that showed that the money came out for, and you can write down or whatever, that is payroll. Tax forms. So there's payroll tax forms if you did payroll, quarterly business taxes and things like that, that you would have. As you can see, the tax forms don't state 1040. Not yet. And then it says payment receipts, canceled checks, or account statements documenting the amount of any employer contributions to health coverage, etc. Non-payroll documentation.
So payment receipts, we can buy a payment receipt book.
It's better than nothing. I don't know if you heard her, she said you could get a payment receipt book. Like I said, yeah, you can. Yeah, I don't know if they'll accept it, but it's better than nothing. Okay, where you say I pay, you just need documentation.
Right.
You just need to show this the date that I received it, do it over the 24-week period. You can do weekly, I pay myself weekly this amount or whatever. But just also understand that audit, they compare the bank statements to the paper trail, and sometimes it's not going to match, but it's better than nothing at this point. Okay. Okay, so the non-payroll, it says business mortgage interest payments, copy of the lender's amortization schedule and receipts or cancel checks verifying eligible payments to the lender. So it doesn't say home mortgage, it says business mortgage interest payments. The next one, B, says business rent or lease payments, copy of a current lease agreement and receipts or canceled checks verifying eligible payments from the covered period, or lesser account statements from February 2020 and from the covered period through 1 month after the end of the covered period. Business utility payments, covered operations expenditures, copies of invoices, same thing with the utility payments, copy of invoices from February 2020 through the covered period, covered property damage, suppliers, worker protection expenditures. I guess, does that clear up that it's supposed to be business? And like I said, the terms and how things have been written, it changed a little bit, but they still end up coming down to the same stuff. All right, so record retention says keep all these documents in files for 4 years. Or that's employment record and payroll documentation for 4 years, and all other documentation for 3 years from the date after the loan was received. Or actually forgiveness loan application. Okay, so that's what I said. Just because it's forgiven doesn't mean it's over with. They can pull it up after it gets through somebody's desk 4 years from now and say, we need to see the documentation. So it's best to at least try to put together something now, because I promise you, as a tax professional, trying to come up with documentation 3 years from now is a pain in the behind, and you're going to end up paying the money back regardless, because you're not going to remember nothing. You're not going to be able to find nothing. Might as well do it now while it's fresh in your mind, at least closer. And then a lot of banks make you pay to get copies of statements that far back. So you might as well download bank statements now, go through them, do what you got to do. Okay. All right. And it says the borrower must provide documentation independently to a lender to satisfy relevant federal, state, or local or other statutory or regulatory requirements or in connection with an SBA loan review or audit. Okay, I do see a chat. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't have any questions in the chat. All right, so let me go backwards here. I'm going to go up. Actually, it's forward, but I'm kind of going backwards on this stack of papers I have here to show you how simple this application process is. Now, this is the paper version of it. There is an online portal version of it now. Let me first say this, though. There are some banks and lenders who still are going to do their own process. And you may have to provide more documentation. I personally went through my business bank, which is Citizens Bank, used to be National City, I believe. And they had where I had to submit documentation. They went through their process first, and then they submitted that documentation to the SBA. Okay. But because there's so much chaos going on right now, especially with fraud and everything else, and I told people, I'm like, look, it might be simple, but this is not a good sign for me for them to now want people to apply for forgiveness directly to the SBA. But on a good note, on a positive note, the application is very simple. Okay. So this form right here is the forgiveness application. The forgiveness application used to be several pages long. Now it is like a one-page form. I'll make it a little bit bigger, especially for borrowers who receive $150,000 or less. You need, yeah, I gave you, so that sheet of paper right there, those two. And the second page is just demographic information. So it's literally a one-page application. Okay. So this is just the exact information that you would have to put into the portal. Once you create an account on the SBA's portal, which is through, oh, see, and this also says it here. I'm on the website here from the SBA's website. It says 8 to 24 week period, 60%. Can you still see this, Sydney? Or I switched to a different screen? Okay. And then second draw, same thing. 60% at least. So it says, do not apply for forgiveness within, it says, if the borrowers do not apply for forgiveness within 10 months after the last day of the covered period, then PPP loan payments are no longer deferred and the borrowers will begin to make loan payments to their PPP lender. So why, when you can do that? So you will go, it says to apply for forgiveness. I'm just going to show you how you can go on here and click on it. You're going to go first and make sure that the lender that you got your money from.
I'm sorry. Is this the SBA website that you're on?
It's sba.gov.
Okay.
/funding programs. And I'll here, let me go to the main page. Then that way you can see. I'm gonna show you how to get there. Let's go to sba.gov first. Okay.
Okay.
So I was on funding programs. You can click on it up there, or you can do it down here somewhere. You see right here is one that says PPP. Okay. You can click on that too. So we're going to click on that. It takes you to the funding programs. You're going to click on PPP loan forgiveness. And that's the page I was just on. I just had it expanded. Yeah, sba.gov. At the bottom of the page, you'll see PPP loan. Click on that, it'll take you to the funding, and then go to PPP loan forgiveness. And when you see that, you're going to go down toward maybe the middle of the page, and it says to apply for loan forgiveness. First, you're going to determine if the lender that you received your money from is on the direct forgiveness list. okay? Which a lot of people who got the 20,000, promise you, is on that list, okay? I went through Citizens though. So Citizens, at the time that I did mine, was not on the list. They might be now. Let's see.
I think they are, because they were trying to get me to do one of my citizens.
Yep, Citizens is now on here. When I did mine, they handled mine. Okay.
I know a lot of people went through Wapley, but it was another type of agent under Wapley.
Mm-hmm. So whatever's on your what's it called? A promissory note, the forms that you signed, hopefully you have it and you know where the money came from. I do know, I think I heard one person tell me they didn't even know because somebody else handled it.
Okay, I didn't get it. Do I do right here? It says protective paycheck protection program, or you said loan forgiveness?
You gotta click on that first.
Let me see it. Can you turn it around?
PPP.
Yeah, click that first, the PPP first.
We ain't gonna let them PPP loan forgiveness.
All right.
So right now I'm on, hold on. I don't think, can you see this? The Excel sheet? Okay. So it's just working with me then, good. Because I clicked on a different, you know, normally when in Zoom and your screen sharing, if you click on a completely different page, you can't see
What-
it.
I can't. Only thing I can see is to apply for loan forgiveness. Is
Okay,
that
so let me, then you're not seeing what I'm looking at right now.
So now.
Okay, now you should be able to see it.
The list of direct lenders.
Yes. So you don't necessarily have to pull it up right now because it's an Excel sheet, but if you know your lender's name, you will see it on this list. If it's on this list, you can apply directly into this SBA's portal. Okay. If it is not on this list, then you have to go through your lender to apply for forgiveness. And I think at this point, because I know when they first launched this site, Citizens was not doing it through the site. They were doing it still themselves. But I don't understand why they would when this is so much easier.
Right.
Okay. And
So
less
how do you got
manpower.
this like that?
Huh?
Is this the download?
It's gonna open as a.
It's gonna open as an Excel. You don't have to do that unless you know exactly what the name of your lender is. Do you know what the lender is? I can look it up while I have it up.
I don't,
Is it Blue
because
Acorn?
I
That
got,
be the lender?
It's what?
Blue Acorn?
Okay, I could look. You know what yours is?
I think it's like third parties,
Do you know what the name of the third party is?
because they told me I wasn't gonna do it. So.
Okay,
but
so what I
can
would
go-
suggest
I can
then,
sign back in the Wapley. to see
Yeah.
Who won the promissory note,
right,
to see who actually.
issued the money.
issued it out.
Okay, and more than likely, that's what it is. It'll be somebody on this list. Because I know Wamply by themselves, I know for sure they were sending out emails to people saying, hey, you have to go and ask for forgiveness through the SBA's website directly. Because I did help one of my clients get the PPP and we did it through the Wamply.
Oh, I got like the emails and stuff.
Of
So I
what?
look at people.
Of what?
I know when they said I was approved and everything. and whatnot.
Yeah, if it tells you the name of the lender, you
I
said,
don't remember, I just.
it should be on your it should be definitely on your promissory note that you signed.
So you can either log back into Blue Acorn or Wapley, whichever one that you want to, but you still can log.
Yeah,
in
because Blue Acorn by itself is not listed on here, so it has to be something else.
And pull up your actual,
Do you know what the name is, Sydney, from yours? You could type it into the,
I do not. I thought it was through Blue Acorn too. Let me look on my email real quick.
okay,
Because all those are just third parties and then find people who don't need money.
yes, like for instance, and when you go through, say, a lot of people have Cash App. When you go through Cash App, they have bank accounts now associated with Cash App. Cash App is not the name of the bank. Like if you go in there, you can see, I think it's Sutton, SUTTON. It's the name of the actual bank, but it's a Cash App bank account, it's a Cash App card, all kinds of stuff, but that's not the name of the lender or the bank. So you just have to go and look for that documentation. But if it is 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be on this list, especially now that I see Citizens is on here now because they weren't.
And then
Initially.
it's gonna be on there because Wapley was an approved site and Blue Acorn was an approved site.
Right.
So you just gotta sign back into your
So,
account.
but not all of them were on there. Like, for instance, I don't see like First Merit on here. I don't see, First Merit doesn't exist anymore, does it? Let's see if Huntington is on here now. Huntington is not on here. So if you went through Huntington, then they probably are handling their own. I'm trying to see just regular banks that I see all the time. Let's see, Fifth Third will be on here.
Doctor Fund, is that it?
Mm-hmm. Go back in there and look under your doctor sign and see who handles your money. Who paid you.
Let's see, Bank of America. Bank of America is not on here. And neither is Fifth Third unless they spelled it out.
Just the Lakers.
They should have, when you signed it, they should have sent you a completed document as well. So it should be like an email right after you signed it. Okay, so I'm not gonna keep going back for, but just, you know, you can check and see if the name of your lender is on there, but of course you have to know the name of the lender. And then once you do that, you're gonna go to the portal. I'm not gonna pull this up because I don't have a portal for you to really show you. But you click on the portal, create an account, and then fill out the information. It's very simple. So let me go back to the actual forgiveness application. Again, the paper application is 1 page. You want the business legal name that you used or the borrower's name if you did your own personal name. If you did your business name, put that on there. If you entered a DBA, put that on there. Don't put on there now what your business is now if they didn't have a business then, okay? You want everything to match the original application so you don't run into any issues or create red flags, okay? Being somebody that works and creates and helps people do business credit. Let me switch my screen again.
Because my business name was my name. You can probably make sure.
Look, I told you I lost some sleep, but I didn't lose sleep long. There's gonna be a lot of people in trouble.
Real quick,
Mhm.
I just found it for my Blue Acorn. It said the lender was Capital Plus Financial.
Okay,
Someone said that
let me
too.
look.
That's the
Okay,
information I had.
somebody else said the same thing. Okay, so let me see if Capital Plus Financial is on this list. I'm not gonna switch the screen though, okay?
Okay.
Yes, Capital Plus Financial is right here. So it's on there, it's
That's what I
online.
wrote that down on my calendar,
Okay,
but I have grabbed this.
it's online 174 if you do go look at the list, okay? Now it might change if they add more to the list, but right now I'm looking at it's online 174. And with an Excel format, you can always go at the top, search screen, and then hit enter and it'll find whatever name that you're looking for. Okay. So it is on the list. Again, a lot of those from Blue or Acorn, Wampley, a lot of those lenders are on this list because it became so chaotic with fraud and all these other things. They wanted to have one central place for people to be able to apply in the SBA to handle that. And like I said, I don't get a good feeling about the fact that they said we want to do this directly, but they made the application process, the plus side of it is they did make the application process real simple. Okay. Yes. So the loan number should, okay, so let me go through this. You put your business name or your legal name that is on the application. It's probably a good idea to have your paperwork in front of you. Okay. Because you want it to match. Okay. Even the business address. I don't care if you moved since then. You put whatever was on that original application on this. Okay. So you put your business legal name or your name. You put your business address. It probably might be your home address. You put the NAC code or NAIC code or whatever, which is the business code that was used when they applied for the loan. Okay.
They had to use that code.
Yes. So this is one thing that I saw, okay, when I was being nosy, okay, and I was going on that list and I was looking at people's names or just putting in Ohio or Akron, Ohio, and I was seeing different names on this. I'm like, I know for a fact that person don't have no restaurant, you know, or a cleaning business. Or
but like with mine, my what I do wasn't even on that list.
well, it's not, but remember when we talked about the other day, there's something that can be still utilized that's close enough. So like but you can't just make up one. Okay, you have to try to find one as close to whatever it is that you do.
I didn't find anything that was close.
But when I met with you, I came up with one that was close to the field that you're in. Okay, and that's why, again, having a random person to help you fill out these forms or fill out these forms for you, you are at risk to whatever their understanding is. So that they don't understand business credit, if they don't understand taxes, business taxes, and don't know how to find the appropriate codes for you, you can have a code that say something completely different than what it is that you're actually doing with your business. Because I was literally,
No, I was going to ask, where do does it say NAT code on our paperwork? So I just kind of went. It should.
It should. And then I saw one website that had people's names and things on there that actually had the type of business on there. So I might, if you can't find it on your paperwork, which you should be able to find it on your paperwork, at least on the summary, then you may be able to find it on one of those websites that had the data listed.
Okay. I just kind of went and tried to do an overview and I didn't see it. I only seen
okay.
The SBA
worst case
loan.
scenario, it might not even be a question that they ask you on a portal.
Okay.
For that other website, just Google
The PP
loan
forgiveness list and it'll kind of pop up.
Okay.
Yeah. Use your social security number if you use it, or EIN if you had it. Your business phone number, which is probably your personal cell phone. Primary contact will be your name again and your email address that was used. Now, I will use the email address that you registered with the SBA if you didn't do anything else through the SBA. Okay. That's something that, can be used. Whatever you use that. Then, which one are you trying to get forgiveness from? I would do, because they have different loan numbers, I would do 2 of these forms separately if you do paper. I wouldn't advise doing paper though, I would do the portal. So it's going to ask you though if it's the first draw or the second draw. Make sure you do not combine the amounts or the numbers because they are 2 separate loans, even if they were issued at the same time. Okay, so you're going to click on first draw, the SBA PPP loan number, the lender PPP loan number, which might be separate, different, the PPP loan amount received, not minus the deduction of what you paid the person to fill it out. I'm gonna sip my tea. And I say that because I had a conversation with somebody and she was like, oh, I thought we only got such and such. I'm like, no, you got this much because I saw it on the thing. But just because you only had this much to use, don't mean that's the amount that you got, okay? So you have to put on the amount that was actually dispersed from the PPP and the date it was dispersed. The increase amount, that's for the second draw for the most part. That's what, remember I said the second draw, I did the increase and then I did it early. If I had known, I would have done the gross amount, but they made the change after I applied for it. That's where that increase will be. That might not be applicable to most people. Okay, especially depending upon when you applied for it. And it says employees at the time of the loan application. That should also be in your loan documentation. And then employees at the time of forgiveness application. If you've hired somebody since then and put them on payroll, Put that you got 3 people now instead of 1. Even if you were a sole proprietor before, I wouldn't say add it if you didn't have the proof that you paid payroll to more than 1 person. You'd be safer to just say it was 1 person, I paid myself payroll. Covered period. Covered period is from the date of the disbursement to 8 weeks later or 24 weeks later.
So there, do we put where we at the week that we are when we filling out the paperwork?
Basically.
Okay.
And we should not, that should be maybe
Well-
on an email.
Well, let me rephrase that. So you want to put the covered period is 8 weeks or 24 weeks. Some people, I remember when they extended it to 24 weeks, I had to opt in to that extended period. Okay. So citizens sent me an email, said, hey, they made changes. Do you want to take advantage of this extra time, or do you want to ask for forgiveness after the 8 weeks? I told them I wanted the extra time. Although the money was already long gone, I just wanted to make sure I had the extra time. So I did it. So with the covered period is 8 weeks to 24 weeks. So if you're doing the 24 weeks, you don't necessarily have to ask for forgiveness. You have 10 months technically to apply for forgiveness according to this paperwork we just read through. But so if it's a week or 2 after the covered period, you should be fine still. But the covered period, you have to have a specific date. It is the date that it was dispersed, 8 weeks or 24 weeks after that date. That's what you're going to put right there as the covered period, regardless of when you apply for it. Okay. And then the amount of loans spent on payroll costs and the requested loan amount forgiveness. So the amount of loans spent on payroll costs, if you receive $20,833, that's the amount that you spent on pay. In fact, you could put, I spent $20,000 on payroll.
And kept the 8, yeah.
And the rest, but the rest still has to be used for the eligible expenses. If you don't have the eligible expenses, then put that the whole amount, $20,833 was the payroll. It's okay. I have a building, I rent or lease for, and lease because it's a 5-year lease that I rent for my business. Without question, I could say that amount of money for this period of time was spent on lease and payroll, but I still had to use 60% of the amount that was dispersed to me for payroll. There's no way in the world the amount I've spent on payroll plus the amount I paid for rent is even less than what I received. It's actually over what I received. So why go through the headache? I just said it was all for payroll. Because can you give me some more? Because I still got to pay payroll. Like, I ain't mad at people for taking advantage of the situation, but, send me some more money.
Okay, so a question. So it says employees at the time of forgiveness application. So when I got the loan, let's say I only, like you said, you only had 1 appointment.
Mhm.
Then once I got the forgiveness, I hired an employee.
But did you put them on W-2 payroll? Okay, so let me give you a definition between
Okay. It has to
what
be-
an employee. An employee is somebody that you actually put on W-2 payroll. And what makes them an employee is that you control, this part is going to be a little weird. You control the hours that they work, what they use, you supply everything that they use for the job, etc. Like they're an actual employee. A lot of times in small businesses, we have employees that we pay as independent contractors, okay? But that's not legal. It's just the way things are done, but it's not legal. If you control everything that they do and supply everything that they need to do their job, they should be a W-2 employee.
Okay, so what if they did a W-2 employee because it's at the time of the forgiveness application, it was within the year of 2021.
Mhm.
And they hired them in that period, so they're putting them on their, what is that, 21 taxes.
As a W-2
As a
employee,
W-2
then
employee.
now you have you have two employees, because your employee owner, if you're paying yourself as a W-2, which you should, and the employee that you have. So now you have two.
And that will be in
Yes,
qualifications of this,
yes,
even though I haven't, because you haven't filed the taxes yet, because you just gave me money.
right. But if you pull up the W-2 and payroll costs, because for me, I started payroll in 2021. I use Square Payroll. I can go on my Square and pull reports that shows how much I've spent in payroll, how much I've spent in payroll costs, like FICA stuff, Medicare wages, all of that crap, like unemployment compensation, or unemployment insurance, or whatever it's called. I pay all of that as an employer. I can pull reports and show that. If you can't pull reports and show it, I wouldn't say it.
Okay.
So, and if you only pay them, like you say, you write them a check, or I had some people giving people cash apps and things like that for payroll, that's not payroll. That's independent contractor at best. And if you pay them over $600 or over $599, then you are supposed to issue a 1099. And I even did my 1099s when I did do them. I do them through Square as well. I pay my little $5 a month per independent contractor, because at the end of the year, I did do that the year before. I just did them as 1099s. And it was the easiest process at the end of the year, because I did not have to go in and create a 1099 for people. I didn't have to go find the forms and send all the copies everywhere that they're supposed to be sent. I literally just approved them, and Square sent them out to everybody, filed it with the IRS and everything, and I didn't have to worry about nothing else.
So
Easiest process ever.
So with Square,
Mhm.
can you go back?
If you already have a payroll system already set up, you can.
But if it's not set up right now, you can't go back. And
You
say,
can't
I started to do the payroll at this date and time, and I've been tracking it.
But you haven't been paying it. So like, it's monthly filings and quarterly filings. All of that stuff Square takes care of. So you probably would have to, I know there's a way they ask you when you set it up, whether or not this person has received payroll prior to today's date. But the process after that, I believe it's importing information from something else, a third party. But you could try it.
No,
You could try it. I don't like.
I know some people that's just gonna be sold and stuff. I'm trying to think.
Right. We've been trying to help our people, and I understand that. I tried to have an education piece before, like when they were first issuing this out, but nobody signed up. And I'm like, y'all need to know now what you need to do, so you know what to do, so that when this comes around, and even setting your businesses up to where, like, I have a lot of people inbox and say, hey, are there any grants available? Well, if you sat down with me months ago or even a year ago when I started doing consultations tough, then you would have known how to set your business up, so when those new grants come available, you're already set and ready to go. But we don't think, and this is the most frustrating thing about our community, is that and I learned this when I was doing the credit thing the most time, we don't think in a proactive way. We're always reactive. We always want to react to what's going on right now, but we don't think ahead. And this is chess, not checkers. Think several steps ahead so that you know what, if anything comes up, then you can do it. I always lean on the side of caution first. I always try to be, and I've learned to be that way. Like, I had to learn to be that way. It's not something I was born with or taught growing up. But we got to start doing something different, something better, because there's too much money out here for us to keep missing it, because we only want to do it after the fact. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this money, and I'll just deal with it when it gets to that point. No, don't do that. Set it up right now. It might mean to sacrifice and miss out on something right now. I'm fussing now. I wasn't going to fuss. I was trying not to fuss. But, maybe we might have to sacrifice the moment to make sure that we're good for the future.
Okay, now, for the 15.3% self-employment tax, that they're gonna have to pay out on that $100,000 for their 2019 taxes.
Whatever
Right.
year that they're claiming.
Okay, so.
And it's not have to, it's a strong possibility. It may never come up, but if it does,
They have to have that filed.
they're gonna have to amend their taxes and say, I made this $100,000 gross income. And if that's the case, they're gonna owe the IRS some money.
So is it, I know it's ways to bring that amount down that you owe. But let's say it's $17,000 that they owe. Is it any way to bring it down further?
Yeah, well, okay, it depends on when they applied. Okay, if they applied in the last application process for the PPP, which was in 2021, then it was based off of your gross income. If they did it during that time and it's based off your gross income, then you can have expenses. Okay, hopefully they have documented expenses. But if they applied in 2020, when it first came out, and some people did, then it's based off of your net income. There's no way to get around that at all. Because now you're saying, I made this much, I deducted this much, and this is my $100,000 net income. Therefore, you're going to pay 15.3% taxes on that. You have a question, Sydney?
Yes. It's gonna throw y'all off though, so y'all can finish what y'all was
I think, was that, oh no, we're done with that one.
Okay, have you gotten anybody, like with my Blue Acorn, my thing is still stuck on funds are being transferred to your account.
Did you receive it?
Yeah. I mean, I already received it, but that's where my check hasn't been checked off there yet. So I don't know, like, I don't even know if I can do this process yet because the main system is still saying that I didn't get it.
I'm leaning on the side that Blue Acorn, because in Wampley also let's just stick with Blue Acorn, is one of the companies. I think the SBA shut them down when it came to funding, when it came to this whole process,
right?
Because there was so much fraud going on under those particular third parties. I think they shut them down. And like I said, it's not a good look for the fact that the SBA said we're going to handle this now directly.
Right.
The moment they said that, I was like, uh-oh.
That's why I was wondering.
That was my first thought. Uh-oh.
If you had anybody else that asked you about that, because it's a few people I know who just kind of stuck and they don't have a check at that box yet, but they've already been funded.
Well, I would still try to, if it's been the 8 weeks to the 24 weeks, I would still do the forgiveness. The forgiveness, as long as you have all the other information. Okay. Because if your bank account got it, somebody has it that you received it.
Right. What I'm doing, I'm going back to my statements.
So
I could give the date.
I would definitely, as long as you have all these other information. Now, I'm giving you so much more information than this application process is going to ask you. It's literally going to ask you all of these questions.
Right.
And it'll probably take you 5-10 minutes to fill it out. It's just making sure that you put the right information on there for you to get that 100%. And from what I've been hearing, people have been getting a response like 24 hours to 48 hours after the fact, telling them that they're 100% forgiven. Okay, so that's why I said no judgment. I'm not going to tell you if you got it, oh, you going to jail. No, I'm just warning you that there's a lot of stuff out here and it's not over yet. Even if you apply, it's not over yet. Okay, but also to educate you to hopefully that you can put this stuff together, like take heed to what I'm telling you so you can start building up your documentation so that if it does come around, you have what you need. As close to it as possible. Okay, you know where it's at. And then when you finish, you have to initial these parts here that says the borrower.
I'm sorry, we didn't go over
Wait.
the request loan forgiveness amount. Is that 100%? Or are you putting again your 20 whatever you got?
Right, you put the full amount.
Okay.
Okay, just make sure at a minimum that you have at least 60% of the loan amount that you got. And also remember to do one loan at a time. So you're doing the first draw for one application and the second draw for the second application. It's two separate things. Because they should have two different loan numbers. They should have two different PPP amounts and two different disbursement dates.
Where will we find? You said it should be on our
Your promissory notes.
I do not see my PPP loan number on there.
It should be on there.
Right here, I have.
The
my
lender
statement.
loan number. I
On
see
your what?
Right here in my bank account on the statement.
Uh-huh.
Where they disperse it, it says Capital Plus, and it has the PP loan number. And,
Okay, she's saying on her bank statement, it has the PPP loan number. But it should be on your application, like it should be on your summary or your.
I have the
promissory note.
PPP loan number. They're not, I don't see the lender PPP loan number, like the lender's number.
It might be the same number. Okay, but worst case scenario is this. There is a number for the SBA for help. They may be
Okay.
able to tell you if you need both or not.
Okay,
It might be the same number, it might be a different number.
I'll call them just to be sure before I fill it out.
Okay. Yeah, just, I mean, if you don't see it, it may not exist, but I would not fill it out 100% until you know for sure. And
Right.
again, this is the paper form. Once you log in and do the portal, it might not even ask you for both.
Right, okay.
Uh-huh. But yeah, she was saying that she has hers on her actual bank statement. Like, you know, in the details of
so.
the disbursement, like when you get a transaction on your account, on the details of it, it actually has the PPP loan number.
Okay,
It has the Capital Plus, and then it has the number, then it got PPP loan number too. It has two numbers. That's the Capital
Okay, it
Plus
says,
number.
she said it has Capital Plus, the name of the bank, and it has the bank number or a number after that, and then it has a PPP loan number and then the number after that. So
okay.
that might have the information that you need
On
right
my
there.
But
Yeah,
when I checked my emails, that PPP loan number was in one of those emails.
okay, and it also might be in your emails.
When they say how much you're gonna get. So I'm.
So then you're gonna initial right here. So basically you're gonna agree that you use the funds for what they were supposed to be used for. That's what these initials are for. That the eligible uses of PPP loan proceeds, the amount of the PPP loan proceeds that must be used for payroll costs. Like this is basically saying that you comply with all the requirements. Down here, you're also gonna initial that you didn't make any false statements knowingly. And that it tells you right here, the SBA guarantee loan is punishable under the law, including those different laws there, of imprisonment of not more than 5 years or a fine of up to $250,000, or imprisonment of no more than 2 years and a fine of $5,000 if submitted to a federally insured institution. Imprisonment not more than 30 years and a fine of not more than $1 million. So they really don't play if it does come to that. But I do know one thing is everybody who got a loan, they prosecuted and put them in prison. We would need new prisons. They're gonna be filling up more prisons. So we don't have space. And since they don't want to let go home some of these marijuana charges, there ain't gonna be no room for everybody. But I wouldn't count on that. So again, I lean toward I lean toward caution over anything else.
Oh, but they shut down Blue Acorn. That's why Blue Acorn didn't never send me anything.
Okay, so I was right there. They did shut them down.
No, I'm asking you.
No, I was saying, I was just assuming.
Contact me back within 8 weeks about the forgiveness. And I am getting.
Yeah, so Blue Acorn was one of the companies that the SBA said we'll do the forgiveness applications ourselves. They couldn't go through them anymore. Okay, so all right. So when I applied for, okay, because I did mine, I get again through the bank, Citizens Bank. And when I applied for my forgiveness, I got two forgiveness summaries. Okay. The one they told me is the application number, the date that I submitted it. I did them both on the same day. It says estimated forgiveness percentage, 100%. Loan draw type was first draw PPP loan. The other one, of course, says second draw. It says if the PPP loan was greater than or equal to $2 million. The answer to that, of course, was no. Employees at the time of forgiveness application, I had 4. Same thing on here, 4. Now this first one, the PPP, I had 1 because I had to do it off of myself because I was I had to do it as a sole proprietor because I didn't have W-2 employees at the time. The forgiveness amount, and then I put the amount of loans spent on payroll costs, I put the full amount. Same thing on this one, I put the full amount. And I could have used the least amounts, okay? But I didn't. I didn't use the least amounts. I didn't use the utility bills or anything like that. The one reason I didn't use utilities, I could have used the internet bill. I kept record of all of them, but I didn't use the utility because basically they charged me like another $200 or more, or actually a less, $200 now extra for my rent, but it's for utilities. So I don't pay utilities directly to the utility company, which I'm glad of that because I don't want to. I'm sure it'll be a lot higher than $200 for the space that I have. But I didn't even calculate that. I didn't use that. But if I go into technically, I guess I could have proved it. If I go into my my login for where I pay my rent to the the management company, property management, it actually states on there utility charge. So I can actually prove that I pay that $200 every month for my utility and the rest of it for the rent. So it does say it separate, but I didn't use that. I'm only telling you what I did, just like I said, lean on what you know and lean on what you can guarantee. And that's me who actually has these other expenses. That stuff is starting to kick my butt. I got the melts in there. After a while, I start spilling the air and then my sinuses and stuff start acting up. But so you hear me like kind of catching. But anyway, so I just said the full amount was on payroll. So immediately it tells me that they estimate my forgiveness at 100%. Because at least 60% had to be used for payroll. Okay. And I think that's how some people messed up when they tried to do their forgiveness and they put on there that a certain amount was used for payroll, a certain amount was used for something else or whatever, and they weren't forgiven at 100%. And one particular person, I told him, I said, well, see if you could do an appeal. Because if you filled it out wrong, you need to make sure it's filled out correctly. And if you could show that the payroll went to these things, or you had the utility costs and the rent. A lot of people didn't even know because they weren't the ones. First of all, unfortunately, we don't like to read. Okay. But it's right here. Okay. And not only that, a lot of people pay somebody else to fill out the application. And I promise you, the PPP loan application was not hard to fill out. It wasn't hard to fill out at all. So when you have somebody else fill it out for you, and then they don't relate to you what it can be used for, what it should be used for, or how you can get it forgiven, then now a lot of people are looking back now like, Okay, well, now I'm finding out I had to have used it for payroll. I didn't do anything to do with payroll. I literally am a part of a group where the girl who, she was one of the people who did it. I respect him on his entrepreneurial, his grit, his grind, but he got his, oh, I'm gonna help you do it. If anybody need to do the PPP loan, I help you do it. And I'm like, okay. Now I helped a couple of people too, but I'm like, let's see your 1040. Let's see your Schedule C. I want to make sure that you can do it and you can apply for it. A lot of people's like, okay, you got a business. All right, well, they didn't even ask how much money you made. They just said, you got a business? Cool. If you don't have a business, you got 1099, do you have at least a Schedule C? If you got at least Schedule C, they put automatically $100,000 on there that you made, get you that $20,000 and it's over with. Okay, when you get your money, make sure you pay me my 10% or 20%. My $1,500 to $2,000. Oh, I saw it. And then now he had over 80 people that he applied for, and now they're all scrambling to figure out how they're going to get this loan forgiven. And she's like, I need to file my taxes. No, I need to amend my taxes. I told her at this point, first of all, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because I didn't do your taxes initially. And then now you got this money and now you're trying to figure out what to do. I'm not even going to charge you enough money to be able to touch that. Especially it's 80 of y'all. I said, what I will do though, is I will do a Zoom. Y'all can pay me to do a Zoom and I'll give you the information. But she's like, okay, well, thank you. No, because I'm not about to make up paychecks, pay stubs. I'm not about to make up tax returns. I'm not about to do none of that stuff because I got too much stuff with my name on it that I can't afford to do that.
Okay, so people shouldn't claim some of this other stuff besides.
If they don't have it. If they 9 times out of 10, most of the people who apply for the loan are sole proprietors and they work from home, right? You're not going to have any of these expenses. You're not going to have a lease. And remember, I did go through where it did specify that it was business. So if you just paying rent at your house or your mortgage at your house or your utility bills at your house, that does not qualify as a eligible expense.
Well, I'm sorry, I came in at the end. You were saying that people were claiming their expenses that they use for, I guess, their utilities and other things, and they weren't getting approved for 100%.
Because they weren't using.
They weren't using the 60% of the payroll, at least.
With that, how do you even do that on this type of application?
Well, the application asks, hold on, let me go back to the top. It asks the amount of loan spent on payroll costs.
Mhm.
And then the requested loan forgiveness amount. So if you got the 20,000 and you say the amount of payroll costs was like, I only spent 10,000 on payroll. That's not 60%.
Okay. And then what they were thinking, they would prove it some other way in order.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Oh. Okay.
I honestly don't know what they were thinking before talking to me. But now they hopefully got it together or will have it together. So yeah, you definitely you want to make sure that you at least put 60%. But my advice to you guys who are sole proprietors or single owner LLCs, just put it as 100%. Whatever you received, put it as 100% used as payroll costs. And then the same number will be used for a requested loan forgiveness amount. They're actually, when they forgive it, they're actually going to pay more than what it was because they're going to pay the interest on it too.
Okay, so if they got first and second draw for this year, they will put that 40,000 blah 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 as
No. So they're going to fill out, because I said this again when you were leaving, but you're going to fill out this application twice.
Okay.
If you do the paper, you're going to have 2 separate papers. But I wouldn't advise do the paper, because right now the government's so backed up, do whatever you can do that's automated.
Right.
So go on the portal, put on the portal because it should have two separate ones. Okay. In fact, when you do the portal, if it verifies you, it might actually pop up your loan numbers and all that stuff, because the SBA should have that information. Once you pull up and match up, I wish one of y'all could do it right now. You should be able, like when you create your online portal with the SBA, you should be able to put in the EIN or your social. It should pull out your information.
Right.
And you might not even have to look for the loan number. It might pop up when you create the portal. Okay. And then you're going to have to put in there the time period, covered time period. It might even be simplified enough to say, because they should know when it was dispersed. It might say pick 8 week or 24. You might be able to just click on 8 or 24 and it'll auto generate whatever the dates are.
Okay.
And then so that's the cover period. And then the loan amount, it'll ask you to type in how much did you use on payroll? You put in the full amount. And I promise you, just put the full amount. Just trust me on it.
No, I'm saying okay, so what I'm saying is, I know people who got the first and second. So for full amount, when it says amount of loans spent on payroll costs, they will put
the first amount for the first draw. And then there's going to be another one that they're going to check the box for second draw and then put the second amount. They're going to have two different loan numbers. They're going to have two different dispersed amounts. Well, maybe, because some people got 20,833 for each one. So,
yeah, something like that.
So you're going to fill this out twice.
Okay.
The online portal, though, may allow you to do it one time, but it's still going to be separated.
Okay.
So this is two completely different things, two completely different loan numbers, all of that. So they want to put whatever they got in the first draw, and it's even if they got it on the same date, it's still going to be separated by first draw and second draw. Okay. So that's the part where it makes this, the one that was issued in 2021, a little confusing at times, but it's still two separate loans.
Okay.
Even if they got it at the same time, it's still two separate loans.
Okay. Yes. The only thing I was really confused on, I think you kind of just touched on it. When you said the 8 weeks or the 24, it's not between, so I don't put like 16 weeks. It's either 8 or 24.
Right.
Okay. I got you.
Right. And it could be, but you're going to
put 8 or 24.
One or the other. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you could have spent it in 16 weeks. That's fine. But the options are 8 or 24. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we've been here for like 2.5 hours.
And you were awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I wanted to touch on some other stuff, but this is, I guess it was as necessary as I thought it was, to make sure that this was clear. But you know, like I said, I am still going to send you guys a ebook, because I do business credit too. And I think all business owners need to know some information about business credit. And it will also help you. So it's two things I guess I'm going to send you guys. The stuff of the contact information to Chandrita Boykins, who is over billions of dollars. She said, I said billions of dollars with the not the SBA, but with the state of Ohio.
WBE.
Yes. So she said you have to be WBE certified or MBE certified in order to be eligible for at least the one that's 0% interest. And then you have to have been in business for a year, which means you also have to have a tax return. And there's a few other things, but the MBAC representative can help you fill out that paperwork. I do have a checklist here, but I would rather you guys go through them to get it, because they help you for free, you know,
Right.
to walk you through the process. And even if you don't have everything right now, it's still good to have your ears and your eyes open for stuff like this, because it will open the door for funding that you may need for your business to grow. Okay. So again, let's think like we're playing chess, several steps ahead versus thinking behind us after the fact. And what else? Yeah, so that was just some data I printed out. So any other questions, ladies?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, well, you're welcome. And oh yeah, see, this is, I'm sorry. Remember I said it was 24, it had to be a 25% reduction in your income to be eligible for the second draw. That's what this required me to send. Like I had to send the calculations to upload it to Citizens, because that's what the second draw was supposed to be for.
So you would have to show like in your bank statements or something that for the second draw, loan period amount, however much you was going in your bank account,
Mhm.
kind of went to zero or.
Right.
at least 25%.
And it's at least one quarter out the year. So for me, I chose the fourth quarter because that's always my lowest quarter of the year. And I technically, hold on one second.